You never really forget the smell of a hospital, do you? That sharp, biting scent of chlorine mixed with the underlying sweetness of old medicine and decay. It's a place designed for healing, but when the clocks hit 3 a.m. and the hallways go silent, it becomes the loneliest place on earth. A liminal trap where the walls breathe and the floor tiles feel like teeth. My name is Arthur. I was called in for a routine checkup. Just a quick procedure, they told me over the phone. I stepped into the elevator and pressed the button for the 4th floor. But the elevator didn't stop. It hummed with a low, metallic vibration that made my teeth ache. The digital display flickered, skipping numbers I'd never seen before. 8. 12, and then, with a bone-jarring jolt, it stopped at floor 13. There was no floor 13 on the directory. When the doors hissed open, there was no reception desk. No nurses. Just an infinite, blindingly white corridor lit by flickering fluorescent bulbs that buzzed like 1,000 dying insects. I reached back to press the open button, but the control panel was gone. The elevator door was now a solid, seamless steel wall. I was out. And the only way was forward. From the far end of the hallway, a rhythmic, metallic squeak echoed against the walls. Squeak, squeak, squeak. A rusty trolley was coming for me. I began to walk, my footsteps sounding like gunshots in the unnatural silence. Every door I passed was identical, heavy, windowless, and cold to the touch. I peeked through a small glass pane in room 1301. The bed inside was empty, the sheets stretched so tight they looked like polished marble. But it was the clocks that truly terrified me. Every 50 feet, an analog clock hung from the ceiling. Their hands weren't moving forward, they were spinning backward at a frantic, blurring speed. I looked down at my own hands. My skin was thinning. I watched in real time as deep, brown age spots blossomed across my knuckles. My veins began to bulge, turning a sickly shade of blue. I started to run, but every turn led back to the same white hallway, the same buzzing lights, and the same reversed clocks. My joints began to stiffen. My breath came in ragged, wheezing gasps. I was losing years with every step I took. A crackling voice erupted from the overhead intercom, sounding less like a human and more like grinding gears. Patient Arthur, report to Ward 0. Your surgery is scheduled for, forever. That's when I saw him, standing under a flickering bulb that cast long, jagged shadows. The night surgeon. He was nearly 8 feet tall, a spindly, skeletal figure draped in a tattered, blood-stained surgical gown. He didn't have a face, just a yellow, filthy surgical mask and a pair of massive, black-tinted goggles that reflected the flickering lights like the eyes of a dead fly. But it was his right hand that stopped my heart. His wrist ended in a heavy, rusted surgical saw. Zzzzzzz. Zzzzzzz. The saw whirred to life, a high-pitched scream of metal on metal. He didn't walk, he glitched. One moment he was 100 feet away, the next he was 50, appearing in short, unnatural bursts of movement that defied physics. I scrambled into a nearby storage closet, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. The closet was filled with thousands of dusty medical folders. I grabbed one at random. My own face stared back at me from a grainy photograph dated May 1986. The diagnosis was written in bold, red ink, Patient, Arthur. Condition, terminal nostalgia. Prognosis, permanent admission. I realized then. I hadn't just arrived. I had been a patient here for 40 years. I was just finally waking up to the nightmare. I burst out of the closet and ran in the opposite direction. The hallway opened into a massive ward filled with hundreds of beds, each one occupied by a figure hidden beneath a stiff white sheet. They all wore oxygen masks, the rhythmic hiss-click of the ventilator sounding like a slow, collective heartbeat. As I stumbled past, their hands reached out, clutching at my jacket. Their wristbands all bore the same name, Arthur. Stay with us. They whispered, a chorus of dry, papery voices that filled the room. The surgery is the only way out. I found a map on the wall, but the lines were shifting, the hallways rearranging themselves like a living puzzle. Floor 13 wasn't a level of a building, it was a digestive system, and I was being broken down. I found a door marked stairs, but when I threw it open, there was only a bottomless black void. No stairs. No exit. Just the infinite fall. Behind me, the whirring of the surgeon's saw was now inches from my neck. I collapsed, my legs finally giving out. My hair was snow white, my eyes clouded with cataracts. The night surgeon loomed over me, the rusted saw blade glowing with a dull, malevolent light. "It is time to remove the heavy memories, Arthur," he whispered through the intercom. "You will feel much lighter once you are hollow." I closed my eyes and felt the cold bite of the steel. When I woke up, I was in the elevator. The doors hissed open, and I stepped out onto the 4th floor. Everything looked normal. Nurses were chatting at the station, the smell of fresh coffee replaced the chlorine, and the sun was shining through the windows. I let out a sob of relief and headed for the exit. But the security guard blocked my path. "Sir, where are you going? Your shift is just starting." I looked down at my hands. I was wearing a tattered surgical gown. I looked in the glass of the front door. My face was gone, replaced by a yellowed mask and black goggles. My right hand was no longer a hand, it was a heavy, brass-toothed saw. I hadn't escaped floor 13. I had become the very thing I feared. The elevator dangled a new Arthur from the 1st floor, and I could hear his heartbeat echoing through the vents. It was time for his appointment. Subscribe to the Silent Hallway. We have a bed waiting for you. And the doctor is always in.